That's why we're all here. Okay, that's why we're all here, and we want to get your feedback. We want to show you the project, what's going on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much.
Okay.
May I interject, please? I'm going to reiterate that this will cause a huge congestion problem. Now, what would be good if you would be so kind to listen to this is to have perhaps speed bumps. Now, the speed bumps cannot go on Washington where the bus runs. This is understood. But in the area that you're speaking of, the speed bumps can be there. That would slow up the traffic and preventing the danger that we're facing with. But to close this off this way, we will definitely have a problem with congestion, as Mrs. Fleming said, that we have new buildings being built, the congestion that's coming into the community, more cars, more congestion. It would be totally impossible.
Yeah, so as part of this project, we do a full traffic analysis and we collect volumes and we do growth analysis. So we actually increase the number of vehicles, we study out to, I believe, 2030 to see what projected volumes are going to be. And we didn't see any impacts. It pretty much would function essentially the same as it does today. So we do look at that and we do take that all into consideration. And really, we're actually adding an additional through lane here. We're adding the right turn lane so that improves capacity for vehicles. It provides more space for queuing. It does actually mitigate some issues that we see at this intersection, just because right now you just have one lane and this will have two.
Okay, so one last thing. So we don't just have the bus, but we also have school buses that I see every morning, and they use that route that you're cutting off right there. And matter of fact, they stop right there. And there's two schools there, Claire Barton, three, Claire Barton, Prospect Heights, and right. So the bus stops right there. So what happens to the traffic when you have one lane that you're demonstrating here? Because they use that corner there by Clara Barton where the buses stop to let the children out. They use that lane.
Are you talking about
So
here?
where are they going to go?
On this section of Washington? Are you talking on Washington or on Clausen?
I'm talking about Washington that turns into Clausen.
Right.
Right here.
They
I'm not sure.
turn
I don't
right
know if you can see my mouse, but it's just
So I
south of
see
the.
it. I see it.
So I mean, yeah, you're not allowed to stand in a no standing area. If a bus does stop here, you still have a whole section of the lane that's still open. We are going to be installing signage that says no standing, which does not allow for any long-term loading. We can also reach out to our school safety unit to potentially get in touch with the schools to notify them and let them know that it's coming and make sure that they know, not to block. I mean, yeah, parking a bus right here at the intersection is not going to be ideal.
I'm sorry. That doesn't sound like a solution. I have explained to you that the buses stop in that section of Clausen, and I don't mean one bus. I mean, there are 3 buses sometimes at a time, and the cars are still able to move on Washington Avenue. But once you close this lane, okay, I just explained to you, the congestion will be enormous and impossible. So this is not a good solution right here. This is not a good solution.
I think maybe it might be currently possibly a staging area because of the volume and the number of the students that come through. I'm not sure if that was considered when the study was done. And maybe Department of Education could probably clarify that, because I think in preparation for the students to board, the buses get ready and they kind of stage there, and it's 3 different schools. So there are different buses that are coming up that particular area. So maybe that might not have been considered or thought of in your plan. Or maybe you weren't even aware that they do stage in preparation to exit the students or to drop the students off in the morning.
Hi, everybody. It's Warren from CB9, and thank you for all your comments. I have a couple of comments myself that I'd like to get in, and I appreciate DOT being here. The first thing is that you're using 5-year-old statistics in terms of planning this. And from my observations, I'm a biker, so I go down Washington Avenue all the time. The whole metrics of transportation has changed. And the one thing I'm really amazed with is the amount of congestion. So that was what was 5 years ago is not relevant now, in my humble opinion. I rode down to Brooklyn Heights the other morning early, and every avenue was totally congested, including Washington Avenue. So I don't understand how you can base a plan on 5-year-old statistics. Excuse me. Number two, I ride Washington Avenue all the time, and I have two comments about it. Number one, going north to south, there is an amazing amount of dangerous driving. So listening to Valerie and Felice and suggestions about speed bumps and your talk about not changing the lighting, the lights and everything else, it just doesn't make sense to me. It is from going from Eastern Parkway to Empire is like a drag race if there's no one around. It's very dangerous. Number two, in terms of that slipway, I have to tell you, you have to do something to try to calm the speed that people take that slipway, because they just barrel through. They go up Washington Avenue, go up to make a right on the slipway, and they don't decrease their speed. So I am very supportive of DOT, but I just think you need to relook and rethink, and most importantly, base your recommendations on current and future traffic patterns versus 5 years ago, because they are very, very different. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
So I,
let me just also ask, being that there are schools involved in that area, and particularly the school for the deaf, was there any kind of communication or any kind of discussion had with those schools as to how it's going to impact their student life?
no, so we haven't had any direct outreach with the school, and I think that's something that's really become apparent as part of this presentation and discussion, is that we really should, and we can reach out to our school safety unit to start that conversation with both the school and DOE. In kind of looking at the proposal, there's not really a change to like operations at the intersection really. So there's no like, we're not, removing huge swaths of parking that would be used for school loading. We're not like banning any turns. So there's not like a huge impact to school buses, but I think you are all correct that we should reach out and see if there's potential locations for staging and making sure we are accommodating that as part of the design. And then just getting back to the gentleman's questions or comments previously, I would say that the safety data includes up to 5 years ago. The traffic data that we use for our modeling is much more recent. So it's 1 to 2 years old. And then we also, as I said earlier, we project that out to a 2030 volume, which increases volumes on a yearly basis. So we are predicting for the current patterns and the future when we do our traffic analysis. So the safety data is separate from our traffic data, which is like traffic counts and volumes.
Hi, this is Warren. A year ago, we were in the middle of COVID. And as you well know, that since things have opened up, the amounts of vehicles on the road have been tremendously increased. So maybe, you can gather new data, because I think that the old data isn't relevant this time. So thank you.
Yeah, and we can bring that up to our traffic engineering department, who manages our traffic count system and kind of the policy and how we use data. Because you're right, COVID did change a lot, and we can maybe look at.
I ride around all the time, and I will tell you, I have never seen so much car congestion in Crown Heights since I've lived here, which has been about 10 years. So supporting all you're saying, uh, let's just get the current data, really be sensitive based upon Felice and Valerie's comments in terms of pedestrian safety, and also take a very hard look on, and Valerie mentioned this about stress in driving and people get annoyed and what that means and how you have to calm the traffic. Thank you.
Hi, this is Valerie again. I just want to, just one small thing concerning COVID. While there was a period in which we really weren't going out and we really weren't doing much, but now we're on the roads and we have other things that are now impacting our traffic now with the Ubers, the Lyfts, the Revels, and different forms of transportation. It seems that the MTA has not gotten back up to peak where they were before. And I'm not sure if they're ever going to go back that way because it takes like forever. Traffic used to start at, I want to say rush hour used to start at somewhere like maybe 3:30. Now it's like 1:32. You know, I'm getting up early to go out and I'm like, I have got to get back and finish what I'm doing by 1:30, 2 o'clock, or else I'm stuck in traffic. You know, this is just something small. I live here in Crown Heights on Crown Street near Bedford Avenue. It took me almost, I want to say 25 minutes to get from here down to Beverly Road and Bedford Avenue. And I left my house at like 3:15. I was like, why is it almost 4 o'clock? And I'm just going down the street. So I'm just saying that we need to look at something different. And that Washington Avenue is such a long stretch right there. I don't know if a traffic hump, because it's not a bump, a traffic hump or something that can break it down so when people go, they know what's happening. Because it seems like we're directing so much traffic onto that Washington Avenue and it's making a little tense because it takes forever to go across to get just the Eastern Parkway. So, you know, I invite you, maybe we can walk it. Maybe we can meet at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm just saying, you know, during the week to see how the traffic goes, to see how fast and how long it takes you just to get from one end to the other, to see how maybe, you know, because you know how you do stuff on the computer and it's one thing, because I know that y'all spent a lot of money taking stuff down that y'all already put up after you put it down and found that, wow, this really didn't work. So I thank you so much though for coming out tonight and allowing us to have some say. Thank you, Mr. Charles and Mr. Casey, and I'll cut back and I'll defer my next comments. Thank you so much.
And yes, I echo Valerie. I'm sorry, I echo Valerie. Thank you for coming out.
This is Paco. I'd like to ask for some more detail on the proposed new concrete sidewalk. I agree with most of the comments that were said. I disagree with a few as well, but Washington certainly is, it's dangerously fast that a lot of the traffic goes, and slip lanes will make drivers think that they can often go too quickly when trying to cross the street. So I think the only thing that really stops a speed camera catches someone after they've been speeding. I like the design solutions that actually will narrow the road and suggest that a driver should slow down. So I think the extension makes sense to me as long as FDNY and New York City Transit fully approve of it. But that said, when I've seen some of these large extensions of sidewalk, I've also seen cars just drive on top of it and treat it like just another parking lot. So, you know, even just a standard height, however many inches of the curb, that doesn't seem to deter a driver. Certainly, if you have an SUV with a higher lift as well. So I'm curious, like knowing that there's a school right nearby, if the school is going to be using this as a gathering spot for kids or something, would there be, you know, it's not large enough to make like a plaza or something, but would there be some sort of bollards to protect the pedestrians that you're inviting to use this new crosswalk to the Botanic Garden, and just to use the space and to deter drivers who are not going to obey the rules, no matter what the rules are? Will there be some sort of remedies put in place there to prevent cars from mounting that curb?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're not proposing bollards at this time. We are proposing a wayfinding sign shown at the curb here. What's not shown is the existing tree, which is going to kind of prevent, cars from going into that section of the sidewalk. We're looking at an additional location for a street tree just north of the wayfinding sign. So we are planning kind of repetitive streetscape elements that would deter someone from driving up on the sidewalk. And I would also add that since this is new construction, we get much higher curb heights than typically is found throughout the city. So we strive for 6-inch curb reveals, where sometimes in the city you can get down to like 1 inch. So where it really doesn't prevent anyone from getting up on the sidewalk. So
I would just like to add in that we're also looking to put some city benches in this location, and also some city racks for your typical bicycle racks. So these would be furniture that would be added into the area. Street lighting will be revisited, so we'll be looking at the new street light requirements at this intersection. So there's a lot of other things that will be added as part of this project that would be possibly utilized in that area. So, but it's a very good comment about it, what you brought up.
And
I have a
just
question.
in tandem with that, would there also be consideration of water capture, knowing that you're going to add some more impermeable surface? I guess it's still the same amount because it was just street before, but that's the top of the hill. All that water's cascading down, and as we've seen in all the storms, the leaves fall and clog, or just dirt and debris clogs the storm drain. So I wonder if there's next to the benches or anything like that.
That was looked at with DEP. They didn't find these sites to be good for any green infrastructure. One of the things we will be doing is enlarging the tree wells. And we're actually going to probably put some of the drainage into those areas to help, obviously to supplement the trees' water supply. And those would be two issues that, that we'll be looking at into that. I also want to just add that we did meet with the fire department on all this entire project, including Lowry Triangle, and they had no concerns about this intersection or the Washington-Montgomery intersection. They had a concern about one of the other locations, and we're addressing that. So, I mean, the project is looked at by as many agencies as have an interest or input on this, and they all, do carefully review this to make sure it doesn't impact their operations. So, I want to share that with you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I really think this is a bad idea to block that triangle off. Because like Valerie said, early in the morning, 8 o'clock, the traffic is backed up already. So at least now they have an option of going to the right, where Washington turns into Clawson. Then also, you were just mentioning about putting benches and stuff there. Why would you put benches there and block that off when there's a park right there across the street? That makes no sense. I mean, the traffic is just going to back up more.
Well, in regards to traffic, so there's really I'm going to do a little quick sketch here. So, I mean, you're still going to have the through movement on Washington, and instead of making your right turn decision at the start of the slip lane, there'll be a little bit more queue space, which will hold vehicles, which will hopefully, reduce a little bit of congestion, and then you make your right turn. There's a very minimal change to the length of roadway drivers are having to drive on. There's an increase in lanes, so we're able to actually accommodate more vehicles. And yes, there is congestion today. This project is not going to solve that, but it will be the same congestion as there was after this construction. We don't see this making congestion worse. The congestion that is there today will remain because it's a much bigger issue. It's New York City. There's tons of people, there's tons of cars, there's congestion citywide. It's just a nature of living in the most populated city in the country. So we don't see this impacting congestion. We don't see it making it worse. You probably won't even notice the congestion change after this is implemented.
I know I've said I wasn't going to speak again, but I just have one quick thing to add. If it could be in consideration, because I'm not an engineer, so I don't know if this is possible. You said this project is going to be in 18 months in the works. So currently, because we're dealing with our safety issues now, you know, is there a way, I'm not sure if it's possible to have a flashing caution light, since we're gonna have the slip still open for now, a flashing light, or I'm not sure, is it too short to have a all stop? I mean, not stop, what is it, a four-way stop? You know how everybody stops, you know, because on President Street, I think it's a stop sign, correct?
Yeah,
And then I don't know if Clausen, because I'm not an engineer, I don't know how that works. Could there be a stop sign to stop the people, to slow it down? Because I don't know if it'll flow back into Washington. Or a caution light to let them know, okay, guys, females, whoever's riding the bicycle, because it's not just the cars, it's the bicyclists also, it's the Uber driver, not the Uber drivers, it's the revels. People are feeling their privilege in different modes of transportation to go fast down that slip.
Yeah, adding a stop sign on Clausen would definitely cause it to back up into Washington very substantially. So we can look at maybe doing some potential like short-term improvements. We can look at signal timing and see if there's any small tweaks we can make, but this project would be happening relatively soon. And like we understand that like we've identified an issue and we're not solving it instantaneously, but it does take time to like make these changes in the city. And we're not able to do this in-house. We have to wait for the longer term capital process to make these improvements. It's a bit of an unfortunate reality of this type of construction.
Okay.
I would like to.
Hold on. Pierre Albert raised his hand. It's time for some other people to have their input as well.
Thank you. Just one community resident, just want to make a comment. I fully support everyone when they say that this project needs to be reconsidered and it needs to be rethought. So I urge DOT to reconsider it and to come up with another plan. I think the residents that live in this community know best, and the idea that new construction is not going to impact cars and congestion is just not true. You have one double parked car on the street and traffic is completely backed up, just one car. So the idea that a construction project is not going to affect congestion, and it is not true. And I think sometimes DOT and people in government have the idea that, oh, people just like the luxury of their vehicles. People use their vehicles to transport seniors. They use their vehicles to take their seniors, their parents grocery shopping. I take my mom grocery shopping. People use their vehicles to transport minors, especially when the subway, especially when you have homeless people on the subway and it could be dangerous. So I think you definitely should reconsider the plan. I understand that, you know, we're trying to make it safer for pedestrians and trying to make it safer for people to ride bicycles. But we need to have a balance. So I say that I'm right there. I don't think that this project is a good idea.
Thank you. Please.
Yes, thank you. So the caution light is a very good idea. That should be implemented on Montgomery and also on Clausen. That's a very good idea. And the other thing, the President Street, what will prevent the cars to emerge into Washington Avenue, okay, from President Street? Instead of making a turn on Clausen, what will prevent the cars from President to go straight to Washington Avenue, seeing that the direction from Washington Avenue is supposed to go into Clausen, okay? And the other thing, does the committee have any input in this? I'm just trying to understand this.
Well, in regards to your first question about President Street, it'll function exactly as it is today. We're not really changing anything. Like the edge of the triangle that's there today that prevents people from going to Washington will be, it's shown right here. It's this exact same corner. So it's essentially the same as what's preventing people from doing it today. In regards to community input, like we are presenting to you, we are taking input. We, of course, you know, we have studied this. We've done traffic modeling. We definitely are going to take concerns into consideration, and we're going to, like, you know, reach out to the school and ensure that. And then we also will, you know, go back and discuss this with our peers and our sister agencies, and either make any necessary edits or continue as is. It's not like this is 100% decided, and we can make adjustments as we look to address concerns where we can. And I do want to reiterate that, like, we have extensively modeled the traffic congestion and the traffic operations for this project. We are adding vehicular travel lanes. Adding vehicular travel lanes increases vehicular throughput. So we do not see this project impacting traffic congestion in this intersection.
Thank you. Any other question? Any other suggestions? No? Okay. I just really want to say that I think it's important to take the community concerns into consideration when these projects come about, because the residents are the one that travel this street on a daily basis. Um, and I know that DOT sometimes is well-meaning, but a lot of the projects right now causing more headache than was originally before the project. And one area in particular, which you guys have nothing to do with, is the bike lanes that they have, those protected bike lane on Parkside, which were meant to make traveling easier, has now caused havoc for emergency vehicles, because now the cars are parked on the middle of the road, not curbside. So when emergency vehicles try to get through Parkside, they can't, because if the traffic is stuck, there's no way for them to go. They can't go anywhere. So it's important, and I know that sometimes it seems like, community residents are being hard and they're being critical, and they're anti-construction, anti-development, anti-change. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of time when these projects come about, after millions and billions of dollars have been spent, it turns out to be a disaster for the community. So it's important that the community's concern be taken into consideration. So I thank you for coming to present to us. And I hope that the things that have been, the issues and concerns that have been raised are taken back and are looked at in the manner that is meant to be looked at. And I would like to definitely see those schools have input in what you guys are planning in that area, because it is going to be impacting their student life. So thank you. And before we let you guys go, Diana's on. Diana,
Yes, I'm on.
hi.
Hi.
Hi. I actually need to bring an issue to your attention that came about during my Block Association meeting. Now that you're talking about crosswalk markings and things of that area, and being that that Empire, Washington, Franklin construction is going on, there's a school now there on, and perhaps my neighbors can chime in, since my voice is kind of like not the best for you to understand what I'm trying to say. But one of the issues that was raised was the lack of crosswalk marking on Sterling and Washington. And Susan, Jeff, feel free to jump in.
Yes, I will try and add some clarity to this issue. At the project that's underway right now, I believe it's nearing completion, which is the western side of the Empire project. That's the intersection of Empire Boulevard, Washington Avenue, and Sterling Street, where the slip lane that was Franklin Avenue has now been closed off. There is now a school located on the Washington Avenue side, and it's come to our attention that the need of a clearly designated crosswalk has to be addressed sooner rather than later, because crossing from Sterling Street headed west across Washington Avenue now, there is no crosswalk. And that's where we would like for your design team to take a look at adding a crosswalk and possibly implementing it before the completion of the project, since the school is open now.
We can definitely take a look. Carmen, I'll reach out to you Friday just to get some photos, just to see what's going on that street, and then I'll work with Mia or Khalid to get a request number while I work internally with other departments to see what we can get done.
Okay, was DOT or the design company aware that this school was there? Because it never came up during any of our previous meetings, although I'm fairly certain that somebody must have known there was going to be a school there. We didn't know. And I think the school has been open. This is their first semester. Somebody help me if I'm wrong. I think they just opened in September.
I wasn't privy to any of that, but I can definitely go ahead and, just take a look of, what's going on, and I can circle back.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
If I may add to that, yes, of course, we've been introduced to the school. They're lovely, and we would love the safety of the children to be considered. But just as an adult that has to cross that road every day, I can say that it's extremely dangerous, because it has not been taken into account that the traffic is also coming out of a very large parking lot for Western Beef Supermarket. So we have the traffic turning onto Sterling, the traffic coming out of the parking lot, and the traffic going down Washington now faster than before, because they're not having to make that decision about the slip lane or whatever. So the traffic on that corner has gotten faster. And because of the construction, and I understand that the materials for the construction have to be there, the sight lines have been taken away. So it really is like playing, I don't know if anyone knows the classic game Frogger, but it's like playing Frogger trying to cross that road. Because there is not a crosswalk there. And the construction, while I'm sure might be helpful when it's finished, is causing a larger problem at this time. And so across, especially now with the school, they're middle schoolers, they're young. We need a crosswalk there.
All right, thank you for that observation. I'll definitely make a note of it, and we'll to Carmen and CB9.
Thank you, Diana.
I think in the past, we kind of brought up this conversation about when the people exit the parking lot over there on Western Beef. So I think some consideration should be made, and it has been overlooked, but we brought it up several times. I've known I brought it up several times about what happens when that car comes out of that area. Now that we have a couple of other factors, it's really important that while the projects that you're talking about, please understand that we know it's for the safety of all of the residents of Crown Heights, all of the residents, but we need to look at the entire project leading up to it and those factors other than the design that you made up on the computer and how it's supposed to look at the end. But how does that impact just the day-to-day stuff at the beginning of the project, the middle of the project, as you proceed to the final development of the project? Thank you.
Thank you.
Felice?
Once again, here we go, closing a fork of the road, a fork that was an extension to traffic passing through easily. You speak of the safety of everyone, which we are concerned with, but this created much more of a havoc for everyone. We live here. We know what's needed here. Why aren't you listening to the people in the community that's walking the walk? We're giving you the talk. Come on. We want the safety of the people, yes. But now here we have a bigger problem. So now you've spent money unnecessarily because no one is listening to the community. No one is listening. This is an example of what now is supposed to be coming on Clawson Avenue. You have to listen to us, please. We can give you the suggestions, okay? And hey, these suggestions are minor that it doesn't cost that much, and possibility it will work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other concern issues for DOT?
I had sent that big list last month, and I know DOT couldn't attend, but I'm curious. There was like 10 different things on that list. I'm curious if it's been shared with DOT or if there were any updates on the many items that I emailed to Carmen and to the CB. Love DOT to weigh in.
I know that, yeah, I know that Dante has communicated with Diana, and there was some exchange with regard to the MTA bus path, as well as, I believe, the crosswalk the issue you raised with the crosswalk on the library, New York Avenue, Maple, New York. Dante's shaking his head, so go ahead.
No, she's explaining it. It's absolutely correct. Yeah, I have had some correspondence with Diana from DOT regarding that was Maple Street, I think it is, that northeast corner. I have that language if you give me a second. I think that it was actually very simple language, which was there's a long list of items. Hold on. You can.
I think I remember. It was like there's a long list of programs that we have in queue, and we are getting to these locations. We haven't forgot about them, and I think I gave you the reasoning why we stopped the work there. So I don't have that email right now, but Dante can share that information. And regarding the cleanliness of the bus stop, Dante, I will say that I got an email saying that it was completed. I just need to
something was
it.
done. Something was done, but it was woefully insufficient. They removed some of the weeds that were at the base of it. I think Jeff had shown some photos or had mentioned it last meeting. Yes, the weeds are gone, but there is still like several inches worth of dirt within that bus stop. It was a very poor job done of maintenance, I would say.
You can definitely send those additional photos over to us, and then I can send it back to that team because I was told that it was cleaned up.
Okay, I mean, the photos would be the same photos that I'm sending you, though, minus the weed. It's hard to photograph, but and I'm not going to stick my finger in there, but you can see there's a lot of several inches of dirt, and with every rainstorm, we're just getting more and more flooding, more clogs. Like it, I would assume, I don't know how those work. To me, it looks almost like there's a key and you lift up the whole flap, or just a really long stick needs to go in there. I don't know if I could get a better photograph than what has been sent.
Paco, I have the photographs. I saw exactly what you saw today. So I will send that over to you, Diana, because it was a very poor job.
Okay.
Yeah, there's dirt and litter up under the grates. So we'll work together on that specifically. Also, the list that you sent, those were included in our district needs statement. So once the Department of City Planning does their operations, their process, that should be on the record and official, so we can continue to advocate for that list that you had. And if I get any more information regarding the intersection there at Maple, I will let you know as soon as I get it.
Is there a possibility for Paco's project or his particular circumstance, if we can have a maintenance schedule? Because it seems that sometimes when we report that we need something cleaned up, they'll clean it up one time and then that's it, and they don't come back, but it needs ongoing. So is there like a maintenance schedule in which they come out every so many weeks to check things out? Because, it is what it is. We've got new things now that are being thrown out, the PPEs and other things that are being collected in the area. So I think it would be prudent for us, if there's a schedule, like, even if they come once a month or every 3 weeks, to go back to see how they can maintain the area.
I have a question about process based on a notification that we received. One of our residents put in about the intersection, the crosswalk that we were discussing at the top of Sterling going across Washington, and we did receive a response, but I have a couple of questions, 3 questions about the response. It said that the location was a traffic control study was conducted there on April 2019. The problem with that is that the problems that we're addressing due to the construction having closed off Franklin happened, and the parking lot and all the congestion and what's happening there and having to dodge cars as you try to cross the street happened after April 2019. So then it goes on to say, when we received your request, we reviewed the data. Reviewing the data does not mean that they came back out and did another study based on what we're currently experiencing. It means that they looked at the old study. Am I correct? And then the last question is, it says the location will be eligible for another study in April 2022. Does eligible mean they're going to come back out and actually give us a proper study? Or does it mean that it's on us to put in another request? And the 4th question, sorry, is in this discussion with the people who are here and listening to us and taking note, do we still have to do this, or are you guys going to address it?
So I'm gonna try to keep up with the questions. Please provide the request number to Dante, and then I can look into that response. And according to the dates, I can't speak to the process if with not having the entire information. Second, when they tell you that it's eligible, yes, you would have to submit a another request for a study. And then I'll be honest, I don't know what the last question was.
The last question was, having now brought it up in this meeting, what kind of support in getting this request through, even if it's denied, can we expect? Once we send you the request number, once we send you the pictures, what's the next step besides us putting back in another request?
Well, Dante's been great. So what can be done is that he and I could have a conversation, and I can speak internally to the department that conducts the study to, see what they can do in terms of prioritizing or expediting the study. No guarantees, but I can at least have that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Diana, let me just ask, because the area that we are talking about is within the parameters of the reconstruction that's going on currently at Washington, Empire, and Franklin. So it seems to me, and particularly because during all the meetings and all of the discussion that we've had, street markings are part of that construction project. And crosswalk are basically street markings. So it would seem to me that this is something that really doesn't need a study. It could be part of all of the street markings that are going to take place during the reconstruction project. I mean, why finish the reconstruction, leave the markings out, and then come back and do a study on markings that could have been done at the same time that all of the other, the crosswalk and all of the marking could have been done at the same time that all of those markings are going to be taking place.
Let me get back to the office on Friday and to see where the map is in terms of the study and the locations you're referring to, because I need to be in front of my desk just to confirm. But you bring up some valid points. I just want to make sure what we're referencing to before I speak to anything.
Okay. All right. So Dante will combine on that because it should all just be incorporated and done at the same time. Thank you. Any other issues, concerns? All right. Everybody's good?
Yeah, I would just we'll make sure that you guys get the pictures and we'll send them to Carmen and the other things that were just discussed. Thank you very much for all of your considerations.
Thank you for coming to the meeting, and I hope I'll be looking for you guys next month. I hope this is a regular attendance. Thank you. So if we have no questions, no issues, no concerns, I guess we can just conclude the meeting. Thank you, DOT. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, neighbors. Thank you, community residents. And everybody, before we leave, it would be nice if we can get ID on those phone numbers and iPads. Who's Galaxy Tab 7? Nobody want to identify? 917-295-0086. So I guess we have anonymous guests.
If you're on the phone, you should be able to hit *6 to unmute.
Or if you want to just put it in the chat room. You just want to check your name so that we can have, we have to provide attendance records. So we actually need names. If you can, before you log on, if you could just type your name into the chat room, we will greatly appreciate it. In the meantime, thank you to Diana and her colleagues. Thank you to the Sterling Street neighbors, Valerie and Felice for always lighting fire. Paco. So good night to everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Hey Carmen,
Bye.
this might be just me, but I'm
Good
not
night.
seeing the option to chat.
Take care of your throat.
Yes, I know. What you said, Sarah? I'm sorry.
Unmute
I'm
yourself,
just saying
Sarah.
I'm not seeing the option to chat for some reason. For those who are on the phone and want to add their numbers, it doesn't seem to be an option for this Zoom for some reason. I don't know who owns the invite, but maybe it's a setting.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see. I'm looking now. You're right.
Yeah, we removed the chat from meetings because it got out of hand and it turned from being information from not being informational. So yeah, we removed that, and we feel like we're getting good participation from the public and from members with them being able to verbally speak to each other. So yeah, and with the phone numbers, it's on the record, so you know we can always have the staff call the numbers and find out who they are.
Galaxy Tab is Chris. She just
that's Chris.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Again, good night, everybody. Thank you.
Okay,
so
good
much.
night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, everyone.